First of all, you can't just have a figure in your head saying, this is how much I want to make for this year by doing a single project. Everyone has a capacity to borrow, and everyone would have a limit to how much they can borrow as well. So if I were you, I would start from how much I can actually afford. I'm assuming you're talking about development. The right way is how much you can actually afford to borrow in order to land on a piece of property. That's the first one. Two, you look at, do I still have the enough serviceability / cash to fund my construction and any strategy cost associated to it? You know, your stamp duty, your holding cost, your DA cost, and marketing cost as well. So these are the two pillars that you got to work on when you start. Normally, to get a really rough picture, I just work on hard cost. Basically, it's your land acquisition cost, your stamp duty, plus your construction cost and your DA cost. I don't factor in interest holding cost in that hard cost calculations, because that's like a cash flow. You gotta, you know, that interest holding cost is actually out of your income, right? As you go through. So normally people just look at the chunk cash they need to get into a project. From there, once you work out your hard cost, you go, this is what I can afford as a property investor. The next step is, with what I can afford, what do I need to look for? Do you just want to do long-term hold, or do you want to buy a property, knock it down, put a house? Or do you want to buy a property with a house on it, keep the house at the front, and put another Torrance-style house in the backyard? Or one step further, sometimes people have a deep pocket. They will go, okay, what I can do is I might want to demolish the house and put a duplex on it. That obviously require more construction cost, because that's two dwellings, not one house. The next one up is, I bought a piece of land, I want to put 3 or 4 or 5 townhouses on it. Can I afford that? Maybe you need to go onto a construction loan, maybe not. Depends on how deep the pocket is. From there, you work out your scenario. If you work out, I want to do duplex, or I want to do triplex, or I want to do townhouses, whatever that is, taking that strategy, which is the number of houses you want to build, taking that strategy applied to a suburb that you know of. And that's where we start doing the researches to work out, okay, is that piece of land in our land acquisition price bracket? Yes, it is. Tick. You got to remember, it's not, anything you do in property is not, I get 100% of the information out of A, then I take that information to B and say, this is exactly what I wanted to do. Can you make it happen for me? It doesn't work that way. Today's conversation is that I give you a picture that is with its full scope, without a lot of details in it, and you go to the broker to say, here's my choices I wanted to do, let's work out my serviceability first, or let's work out, if I was to sell the townhouse or apartment I'm holding for the last 10 years, what my serviceability or cash position would look like. Then you have that information be available to you, you take it back to me. Let's just say half of your total capacity to service goes into the land, half goes to the construction cost. Then we work out a rough figure where you should be looking at. Are you looking at sub $1 million suburb to get a piece of land and put 3 townhouses on it? Or are you getting over maybe $1.5 million land in an established suburb and put a single house on it by keeping the existing house and another single house at the backyard? If you really want, after some figures, let's just say, for typical 1 into 2 lot subdivision, keeping the existing house and another house in the backyard, you got to prepare anything from for the new house itself, while you keep the old house in the front. That is just the construction cost. It might you might have $DA cost in there. to get it through to council. And the land cost can vary. It's really dependent on what area you want to play the game at. You want to do $800,000 land acquisition with a shabby house on it, which you might do a bit of rental, or you want to be over $1 million mark suburb that you can do the same thing. And in that sort of suburb, you might need to spend $1,000 on the house, as opposed to in the lower end suburb, you only spend. So that could be a scenario that you can consider. Another scenario would be, okay, you wanted to be in $1.5 million market or just sub $2 million market because you can afford a piece of land within that price range. And if you still have capacity to service the construction loan plus the 20% deposit, then you can go, okay, I want to look at a little bit premium suburb with a nicer finished duplex on it. The duplex might range from anything from $1 for finished duplex, and the size of the duplex can be as small as a small, 140 square meter duplex versus a 250 square meter duplex on each side I'm talking about. That's why the price range for that duplex will jump from $1 construction cost. And if people can afford it, that's what they will do. Depends on the suburb. It can vary from $1, which will give you 120 to 140 square meter internal on each side. Very standard low-end finished duplex. And that's going to be for the whole job. Today's discussion is very vague. Let's not bog down onto, does it include demo, does it include landscaping, does it include fencing, what are the variations? It's just a ballpark because we don't know what we don't know. It's a preliminary discussion. All I can say is, as a ballpark, and please don't hold me accountable for it, okay, could be ranging from anywhere from $1 inclusive GST, if that's what you're gonna ask, to $1. That variation is because you might be building a 120 square meter duplex and you might be building a 250 square meter duplex. They all called duplexes. Some of them is really small, others could be really big. And some might be only selling for about $1. Others could be selling. For where you're at, I think the best case would be you start from either do a demolition and put a single house on it, or start from keeping the house and put another Torrance title house or strata title house in the backyard. Maybe if you want to step up a little bit more because you want to be going really hard, you might go, okay, I want to do the demolition and I want to put a duplex on it straight away. You can start a conversation with the broker from there and then work out, okay, where your capacity to service plus what kind of equity you'll be able to release once you sell the apartment. And then from there, you come back to me saying, Terry, I think, I like to have the idea of option 1, option 2, option 3, or option 4. That's all okay. I think there's a lot of things that you should know, but for where you're at right now is sufficient for you to go back to the broker and work things out. You just got to dump that how much you want to make on a project thing. Without you being able to afford to buy the land and the construction cost, the profit is irrelevant.